Welcome back. In our last video, we talked about network requests. In this video, we're going to be talking about encrypted network requests. So, in our last video, we were testing our our function with an API. But there is a use case where you have web applications and you have functions that make network requests to like remote servers that require some type of sensitive authentication credential, right? So you might be looking at email APIs, Facebook API keys in general, or authentication tokens, right? And these sensitive tokens, you might not want users to have access to these tokens because then they could take them and use it for themselves and perhaps run a tab, right? So on the in-house platform, we have something called encrypted network request. We call it remote network request. So what happens is that we encrypt the network request transaction end to end. So basically, this is executed on a remote server, hence the name remote network request, right? So we're going to be testing this on the front end uh, using an app. I have the app open. We close this out. So I just have a random application. So we're going to be testing our function in this application. As you can see, it just has a bunch of random charts. I'm going to drag and drop a div in here. I'm going to position, just give it some space at the bottom. I'm going to make this flex centered vertically and horizontally. I'm going to drag in a button. I'm going to add an event to my button. I'm going to call that tutorial demo function. So basically, whenever the button is clicked, the function will run. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to go into my function builder by basically clicking on the function tab. I'm going to go back into my tutorial demo function. We're going to change this a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the step to update client app data. So this is basically just a way of setting this response in our app. So I'm going to call this Star Wars data. And I'm going to set that to the API response. Okay, let's save this. All right, I'm going to deploy this function. And because I just deployed the function, I can just refresh this application and it will pull in the latest copy of that function. All right, so I'm going to open up the developer console. So when I click on the button, my request goes out. I get my response, which is our Star Wars data. And we set that in our app data. If I scroll down, I will see my Star Wars data. It's a lot of data. All right, that's straightforward. I'm going to go back to that function and I'm going to try to put perhaps some sensitive data if it will let me. All right, so I'm just going to put in something here called, let's say, sensitive. I'm just going to say XYZ. Save, deploy, refresh. All right, I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to make another request. Course, found resource given. Okay, let's look at the headers. Okay. All right, so it wouldn't go through, I guess, because of some sensitivity due to perhaps the change I just made. But what I wanted to just point out is that if we looked over here at the request header, I can see my sensitive header with the XYZ. So if this was some type of sensitive data, nothing stops a user from basically grabbing it from the developer tool and using those credentials for themselves. So perhaps you don't want this behavior, so you're going to use a remote network request. That is the use case. All right, so I'm going to go back to my function. All right, I am going to copy this URL. That way I don't lose it. And I'm going to switch from a network request to a remote network request. It looks the same, right? I'm just going to call this, I'm just go here and clear out some of my, yeah, all right. I'm going to call this API response again. This time it's lowercase. I'm just going to call it capital API response. Same. It's going to be the same get request. I'm just going to paste this in. Okay. And I am going to add my sensitive header. We probably would run into the same issues that we had before, but that's not the point. XYZ. Right? So basically what we've done is that we've switched to a remote network request. So this is going to execute on a remote server and to end encrypted. I'm going to save this, deploy, refresh so we can get the latest code or the latest function. All right, clear this out, and I'm going to click on the button. All right, so you can already see that it's different. It's sending your request to a remote server. As you can see, we don't have any sensitive, none of our sensitive header that we just set. It's not here, right? You look at the payload, it's encrypted. Look at the response, that's encrypted as well. And let's see, did we get our data? Let's find out. Yes, we did. We got our Star Wars data. So basically, using our remote network request, we've been able to securely communicate with our API and basically obfuscate or make it impossible for a user on our clients to get access to sensitive credentials. And also another use case, this is probably going to be a use case a lot of people are going to use this for, is if you're running into issues where perhaps an API is doesn't allow for cores, then you might want to use a remote network request, because this is going to be a server to server call, meaning that you bypass the whole issues that comes up with cores, right? This is much more advanced. Again, you could read the documentation. A lot of the functions on the in-house cloud function builder are basically no code abstractions of the JavaScript function. All right. All right. With this, I'll end the video here. I'll see you in the next one.